Hey guys, what is going on? NFL Week 6 power ranking here. Like I say in all these videos, I'm not saying this is the perfect power ranking or anything. I could probably make 5 different power rankings and think they're all equally as good. But yeah, without further ado, let's just get into this power ranking. So coming in at number 32, I really have no doubts about this one though. The Jacksonville Jaguars, I mean, what else do I have to say here? They are simply the worst team in football right now. They're 0-5 and they look really bad. Coming in at number 31, I have the Detroit Lions. So they're 0-5, but they don't look nearly as bad as the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, I feel so bad for Lions fans because you guys have had to deal with so many painful losses just this season. On top of all the other painful losses Lions fans have had to deal with in the past. They have been so close in every single game, but also so far. I mean, they had the guts to go for the 2-point conversion to take the 1-point lead with just seconds left versus the Vikings. And I think that was a smart decision because, you know, the Vikings, they missed a field goal in that game, so put pressure on them to make that field goal. And then they did make the field goal and the Lions lost, but just brutal stuff for the Lions, honestly. They're so close to getting a win, though. I feel it. At number 30, I have the New York Jets. So they lost in London versus the Falcons Sunday morning, and Zach Wilson went back to looking not so good. The Jets offense, they only put up 3 points in the first half. Coming in at number 29, I have the Houston Texans. So this team looked way different than it looked just a week ago versus the Bills. Even though they lost this game, Davis Mills looked way better in this game. He was basically making this Patriots defense look bad. And honestly, this Texans defense made Mac Jones look not so good. I mean, he looked way worse versus this defense than he did versus the Buccaneers. Coming in at number 28, I have the New York Giants. So you guys know the Giants are my favorite team. If you want to go check out my reaction to that game, you can go see me in Spain without the S live. And they lost this game, and they lost basically all of their players on offense to injury, but the good news is those players shouldn't be out for a super long time. At number 27, I have the Miami Dolphins. So Tom Brady just absolutely shredded this Dolphins defense. The offense, it still looks really bad. Hopefully Tua coming back will really help this offense. But the Dolphins haven't won since week 1, which is kind of crazy considering they almost made the playoffs last year and they had a lot of, you know, high expectations for this season. Coming in at number 26, I have the Atlanta Falcons. So they won in London versus the Jets, and this offense looks like it's finally starting to click. For 2 weeks in a row, this offense has really, put up points. At number 25, I have the Washington football team. So they lost versus the Saints at home. Heineke, he had 2 really bad interceptions where he just basically threw right at the defender. And this Washington football team defense is really struggling, which is really surprising because they were so good last year. Coming in at number 24, I have the Indianapolis Colts. And oh my gosh, I had so much faith in this team coming into the season. I had such high expectations for them. And they blew that huge lead versus the Ravens last night. I mean, I really don't know about this team though because they literally play in the worst division in the NFL. So they could possibly still make the playoffs. It's going to be them or the Titans that make the playoffs in my opinion. Maybe the Texans will surprise us all. I don't know. But in my opinion, it's going to be them or the Titans that make the playoffs in that division. And honestly, the Titans aren't that good. So I don't know. This Colts team could possibly still make the playoffs, but with like a really bad record. Coming in at number 23, I have the Philadelphia Eagles. So it seemed like this Eagles team was out of this game versus the Panthers versus this past weekend for the majority of the time. You know, the Panthers, they weren't winning by that much, but it just seemed like the Panthers were dominating this game. Until they weren't. I mean, Sam Darnold, he threw 3 interceptions, and he threw his final interception on what could have been, or what the Panthers were trying to make, a game-winning drive, but Sam Darnold ended the game with a game-losing interception. At number 22, I have the New England Patriots, and this team looked like a totally different team than it looked like last week versus the Buccaneers on both sides of the ball. Defensively, Davis Mills shredded this defense, and offensively, Mac Jones, he had 1 interception, but he could have had at the very least 2 more. I mean, the defense was literally dropping interceptions. Mac Jones did not look good at all in this game, and the Pats were very lucky to get this win. At number 21, I have the Chicago Bears, and the Bears have some momentum, guys. I mean, this defense is playing really well. They're not putting Justin Fields in a position where he has to do so much and put the team on his back, which is good because you don't want a rookie quarterback to have to put the team on his back, especially when this offensive line is playing the way it is. I mean, this offensive line is still bad, but they're not having Justin Fields do as much, which is good because you don't want to have him getting sacked 9 times a game ever again in his career. And this Bears team made the Raiders team look really bad on both sides of the ball. But yeah, a huge win for the Bears versus the Raiders this weekend. And yeah, the Bears are 3-2 now, guys. They have a winning record. At number 20, I have the Denver Broncos. So this offense has not looked that good for the past 2 games. I mean, they almost did come back versus the Steelers team. They could have had a game-tying drive if they scored a touchdown and a 2-point conversion, but basically they just fell short in the red zone. And listen, this Steelers offense should not have put up 27 points versus Broncos defense. They really shouldn't have. That can't happen. The Steelers offense is not that good. And this Broncos defense should be better than that. At number 19, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers. So like I said, Steelers beat the Broncos this weekend, and they really needed this win. They really needed this win. They hadn't won since week 1 when they beat the Bills, which is so weird looking back on that now. They finally got their run game going on offense, which really allowed them to have their best offensive game this season. If this offense continues to play the way it did versus the Broncos, they can win a good amount of games because their defense can carry them as long as their offense is kind of moving the ball down the field just a little bit and, you know, taking some time off the clock so the defense can get rest. But will this offense continue to play this way? I don't know, because, like, is Big Ben going to have a game where he throws 3 interceptions? I think the answer to that is yes. But the real question we need to be asking is how many games is Ben Roethlisberger going to have where he throws 3 interceptions? Because him turning over the ball is going to put this defense in a position where they can't win them the game. At number 18, I have the Tennessee Titans. So they beat the Jaguars this week. Like, cool, I guess. Like, I'm not very impressed by the Titans beating the Jaguars, especially after coming off a loss versus the Jets. I don't trust this team, to be honest with you. I still don't think they're that good. Like, I can't sit here and say, oh, I think the Titans are good. Yes, they have a winning record, but I don't think they're that good. Derrick Henry is literally putting this team on his back. He had 130 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns this past weekend. Like, that is absolutely insane. Derrick Henry is insane. At number 17, I have the Carolina Panthers. So they really let this game slip away from them versus the Eagles. They were in control the whole time, but just couldn't extend that lead. Sam Darnold, he had 3 interceptions, and like I said, he had that final interception on the possible game-winning drive. He lost the Panthers this game. It's as simple as that. Sam Darnold lost the Panthers this game. At number 16, I have the Las Vegas Raiders. So obviously there is a lot of stuff going on with this team. Gruden is no longer the head coach after saying some really disgusting stuff, some really terrible stuff. And I don't know what's going to happen with this team the rest of the season. I feel bad for the players because they were, you know, put in a tough spot by Gruden. And I don't know how they're going to play. They didn't look good versus the Bears on Sunday. And I really don't know how the rest of the season is going to go for the Raiders. But yeah, John Gruden should not be an NFL coach after the things he said. At number 15, I have the Minnesota Vikings. So they almost lost to the Lions, but they did end up winning the game. And honestly, I don't know what to think of this Vikings team because it's like some games they can play really well at times and then just barely lose them. And then other games they play really well at times and then play really bad and almost lose games that they should have won, like this game versus the Lions. I think it has to do with coaching. I think the coaching isn't that good over there in Minnesota. I think that's the reason why they're in this spot and that they're 2-3. I just don't think they're consistent enough. I mean, this offense has the potential to be really good. At number 14, I have the New Orleans Saints. So this was a good bounce back win for the Saints on the road. You know, Jameis, he started the game not so great, but he really played better as the game went on. And I mean, that Hail Mary to close out the first half was actually sick. I watched that live and I was like, oh my gosh, Jameis Hail Mary, let's go. At number 13, I have the Cincinnati Bengals. So they almost won versus the Packers in the game of who can miss more field goals. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, though. What a duo. I mean, that duo is going to be amazing in the NFL for years to come. The connection they already have, I know they played together at LSU, but the connection they already have at this NFL level is insane. And this defense has really continued to play surprisingly well this season. At number 12, I have the Seattle Seahawks. So this defense is playing really, really bad. And now with Russ out, I don't know how many games this team is going to win. Even though Geno did play really well when he came into the game, I don't know how to feel about the Seahawks right now, especially because of that defense. Like, if you're just giving up a ton of points, it's going to be hard to win games like we're seeing with the Chiefs, no matter how good your offense is. At number 11, I have the San Francisco 49ers. So I didn't really like the game plan they had with Trey Lance. I felt like they were running the ball too much with him. You know, he's a young quarterback. He's still going to develop, and he has a very, very long career ahead of him. And I feel like they just need to protect him more. I know he's great with the ball in his hands, but I felt like he was just taking way too many hits. The thing is, though, They kept this game very close with the Cardinals. It was a 3-point game in the fourth quarter. So you have to kind of give the 49ers credit for that and Trey Lance credit for that, for keeping this game as close as it was with the undefeated team in the league, the only undefeated team in the league, in the Cardinals. Coming in at number 10, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. So, are the Chiefs bad? Is that like a thing now? I feel like they still have time to figure it out, but this defense needs to be figured out quickly or they might not make the playoffs. I still think they're gonna make the playoffs. I still think they're gonna figure it out, but they got a lot to figure out over there in Kansas City. At number 9, I have the Cleveland Browns. So they lost a really great game to the Chargers. I mean, it was a great game from a fan perspective. I loved watching the game. That probably really hurts if, you know, you're a Browns fan or a Browns player. But the good news is the Browns offense is finally scoring touchdowns. That's what I was concerned about with the Browns. I felt like they weren't getting into the end zone enough. They were getting into the end zone for sure versus the Chargers, so that's a good sign for the Browns. At number 8, I have the Baltimore Ravens, and oh my gosh, guys, Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is an MVP candidate right now, in my opinion. This guy has put the team on his back multiple times and led them to victory. He led them this week to that crazy overtime comeback, and you can only stop this Ravens offense for so long with Lamar on the field because he's eventually going to score. You know, you can't stop Lamar for a full game. You just can't, and his deep ball has looked great this year. He's really dropping some dimes. How do you stop Lamar? That's the question. At number 7, I have the Green Bay Packers. And like I always say, I hate moving teams down after a win, but I just feel like all these teams in front of the Packers are better than the Packers right now. The offense for the Packers, it looks good. It's not the problem. It's the defense. I know they have some key players injured on defense, but this defense does need to play better for this team to be higher on my power ranking. At number 6, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Again, I hate to move teams down after a win, and this was a dominant win for the Buccaneers versus the Dolphins. But again, the defense, the Bucs defense is so concerning for me right now. I know that secondary is very injured. A lot of players are out in that secondary, but this defense really does make me nervous for the Buccaneers. I mean, Tom Brady is winning them these games. Tom Brady is playing unreal. I mean, Tom Brady is not real. Like, what he is doing at his age is actually insane, but they're winning these games because of this offense and Tom Brady. At number 5, I have the Dallas Cowboys. So the Cowboys are legit. Both sides of the ball are playing really well, but especially that offense. Like, who is stopping that offense? What defense is stopping that offense? I literally cannot name a defense that could stop that offense. Maybe the Cardinals, maybe the Browns defense, maybe the Chargers, but those are big maybes. It's going to be so hard for teams to keep up with this Dallas offense. And the defense is creating turnovers and playing much better than expected. This Dallas team is really good right now. At number 4, I have the Los Angeles Chargers. So a crazy win for them versus the Browns. Both sides of the ball are playing really well now. And I love the way Staley coaches. I love how aggressive he is. I love how much he goes for it on 4th down. That literally wins them the games. And Herbert is an MVP candidate for sure. At number 3, I have the other Los Angeles team, the Los Angeles Rams. So they won versus the Seattle Seahawks on Thursday Night Football. Wasn't the most entertaining game, to be honest. The offense looked better than it did versus the Cardinals, but it still doesn't look as good as it looked in the first few games of the season. But then again, it was Thursday Night Football. Thursday Night Football is weird, short week, all of that. But this defense is really a concern to me now. I mean, they were like the best defense last season. They had such high expectations heading into this season, and they haven't played close to those expectations, in my opinion. At number 2, I have the Buffalo Bills. So the Bills have only lost one game, and that was week 1. And since that week 1 loss, they have been dominant in every single win. Last season, you know, the Bills, they got off to that hot start. They played the Chiefs and they couldn't beat the Chiefs. It wasn't really a close game. It seemed like the Chiefs were the way better team. This season, you know, they're off to another good start. They go to Arrowhead and they beat the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. That was a big win for the Bills and a real, you know, hey, we're a legit team win. We're one of the best teams in the league now win. And yeah, the Bills are very good. Both sides of the ball are looking really good. At number 1, I have the Arizona Cardinals, of course. They're the only undefeated team left in the league, so they have to be number 1. And until this team loses, they are going to be number 1, in my opinion, because no one has beat them yet. Kyler Murray is insane, this offense is insane, and this defense has really exceeded my expectations and played way better than I thought, you know, they were. So that is it for this video, guys. Make sure you drop a thumbs up, comment down below, and subscribe. Peace!